Welcome to American Sailor, U.S. Sailing's official podcast. My name is Janel, and I'm here with Martha Parker. She's an icon of Newport, Rhode Island, a business owner, an incredible sailor, and someone that I've looked up to my entire life as an idol that I aspire to. Martha, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. This is really an honor. I really appreciate it. I always love talking sailing, and I will tell people about my business and anything else. So my brothers always wish they had a mute button. They didn't know about that when we were growing up because I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. So there was a lot of competition to get your words out.
Well, I'm glad you still have such a loud voice because I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. You have 2 major impacts in the marine industry. That's your sailing career, which is incredible, and your long tenure with Team One Newport as a business owner. But I'd love to start with some sailing. I know you have a bunch of firsts you'd like to share with us.
I do. I'm actually really honored, and when it was happening, we didn't even realize that it was first.
Yeah.
So I'm number 4 out of 6, a nice big family surrounded by 4 brothers. My sister's the oldest. So my dad was one. My parents actually met in college racing against each other. So we came from a sailing family. Mm-hmm. So there was no ifs, ands, and buts that you were going to learn how to sail, which was fine. We did it. And great funny story. When I was little, I didn't really like heeling on the boat. And so my dad convinced me that if my feet could touch the water, that was really fun. So if you dragged your feet in the water, I'm like, okay. So then when it got to be light air, I'm like, Daddy, heel over more. So kind of things worked in the opposite. And then, of course, I grew up swimming and being around the water, and I loved capsize. My poor sailing instructors were like, what are you doing? I think it may have been blowing 5 knots at one point, and we capsized the Blue Jay. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, I didn't have enough control. And really what we love to do is when you got in the Blue Jay and you were capsized, they had to pull you with the motorboat. They wrote you up, but you had to get all the water out. You had 3 little girls or 3 kids on the back of the transom and all the water's coming over. We thought that was the best thing in the world. I grew up at a Centerport Yacht Club on Long Island, and oh my gosh, but thank you for all my sailing instructors for being so patient with me. It did pay off, so that's really cool. But from there, in 1984, I got an opportunity to sail with John Coleus, who had just finished up doing Courageous in the America's Cup. At that point, he was the youngest skipper for the America's Cup until Jimmy Spithill came along. So John was there, and I was sailing on a program called African Warrior. And we were going, and I was doing bow, and I was the B team bow because I was a girl. So very funny story, because John gets off the boat the first day. It was really blowing, and I, saved some roundups and stuff like that. So he said, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I said, nope, you won't see me tomorrow. I said, I'm on the B team. I'm a girl. And he looks at me and goes, no way. He goes, you were like one of the best on the boat.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, thanks. And
impressive.
So I went back to work, and sure enough, on Monday, I was working for a company called International Sailing Products with Steve Benjamin. And so John Coleus calls, and Steve answers, and he puts his hand. Back in those days, you did not have hold buttons. It was one of those things. He says, hello, International Sailing Products. And it's like, is Martha Parker there? And he goes, can I ask who's calling? John Coleus. And he goes like this. He goes, what's John Coleus calling me? I'm like, I don't know. And so it was really funny. He asked me to go sail with him. And at that point, he was like, I don't care that you're male, female, or whatever. He goes, you're light. When you go forward, the boat doesn't jibe on me, and you can do your job.
Yeah, you're fearless. Yeah,
I just was doing that. And it was great because from there, I worked with all the best bowmen, and I was treated as an equal. And I remember there was Robbie Young, Scott Vogel, Smitty from Australia. And they all were just like, this is gret. We don't care that you're
in the
girl.
Bow Alliance.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so in 1984, when I did the Admiral's Cup trials, I think I was the only female there. And I was in line getting food. And in walks JW, the infamous Johnny Wright. And I guess somebody goes like that. And I actually did have short hair, but kind of longish short hair. And he goes, is that a girl? And so somebody goes, yeah, that's Martha Parker. She's doing bow on African Warrior. He goes, wow, it's a bow chick. And so
what an honor.
What an honor. I was the first one to get named bow chick. And there's been a lot of bow chicks afterwards, which I'm very, very happy about because there really shouldn't be any gender separation on that
Agreed.
One. So from there, I started racing with John on a boat called, Road Warrior. Mm-hmm. And because I had come from African Warrior and went to Road Warrior. So at that point, it was great. I started doing some match racing, and Billy Lynn called me up in 1988 and said, hey, come do the Congressional Cup with me? I said, great. And they were on Catalina 38s. These boats were so big, so heavy that we actually perfected and invented the tack set jibe.
Wow.
So it was like, because
with the Genoa.
having that Genoa, that 150 going over the pole, and, getting everything up, I'm like, forget it. We're going to cut out maneuvers. And so we would go up and then we would just go tack. It would stay right over and then jibe and go around and the pole would go up. It was great.
Wow.
It was only because I was like, can we make this a little easier? Because the pole weighs 4 times my weight.
Yeah,
and
I'm dealing with a lot up here. So
yeah. Guys work with me. And they were great. They just treated me totally like an equal. And I'm really proud that we actually got 3rd place.
Yes.
So I was the first female to place in the Congressional Cup.
It's amazing.
And, so it was really, really neat. And then after that, I want to say probably in 92, I think JJ came in with an all-women's team. So that was a lot of fun when we did that one. But doing that stuff. And then with that, there was the coolest thing is the ultimate sail race. And what it was the first time there was prize money.
Yeah.
And it was right in competition with another one called Pro Sail. Pro Sail was catamarans. We were a multi-hull. Great box rule, 30 feet. Your boat was 30 feet, no shorter, no longer, 14 feet max wide, and no trapezes.
Wow.
Go for it. And ironically enough, really, the naval architects came up with almost the same boat all the way around.
Wow.
So we were just a dinghy with racks on it, and we would hike out on the racks because you couldn't do trapezes. We sat there and we hiked as hard as we can getting out, but it was so much fun. We figured it was probably the first time a monohull ever hit 24 knots. We did.
Oh my
and it
God.
was, oh my gosh, it was really, really cool sailing. So we got to do that, and I did that with John Coleus and a bunch of guys, and it was great too because Chattanooga Chew had a girl on board, and then so did the Annapolis boat, the red boat. And so it was really good. Every boat was almost had a girl. There were 2 other boats that
That's
didn't.
incredible. You remember the color of the boat.
Yeah.
You just have that
that red
photographic
boat.
memory of the red boat to windward, pinching them off.
Absolutely. Well, the really cool thing is that we had races all the way up to that each day. And the winner of those races won $5,000.
Wow.
Now, in 1988, that was a lot of money.
It's an incredible amount of money.
We didn't get the money. Our owner who had funded it, that we agreed that went to him because we had all these expenses. So then the final race comes up, and it is being televised, and not live television, but it was being recorded for television. So that was a big first as well. So then what happens is that is for $64,000. All right. So we've been winning. We're pretty comfortable with what we've got, and we're going upwind. And it was the first time we had a start, a center gate, and a windward mark. So in other words, the center gate created this figure 8 so that you could bring in the camera boats as well as your spectators.
Maybe
there.
the Olympics should listen to this as a potential format. Seems like it's good.
The figure 8 with the center gate. And what it does is it gives you a checkpoint. So we are going up. We are literally half a leg in front of everybody. This is easy. We're up our last, our second windward leg. This is go. All of a sudden we hear this and crack. And Andy DeVell, myself, fall straight off the back because our rack broke.
No.
Right where we were sitting. And they didn't even give me a seat on the boat. Literally, I had to put my foot in front of the shroud and put my butt right on the corner of the rack and hold on to the wire that was holding the rack up. Well, that didn't work so well because that was not holding the rack up. So Andy and I both go over. The boat capsizes. We're now back because the boat kind of sailed off a little bit. So we're swimming. We've got guys on the centerboard pulling it up, but don't pull that rack too hard. So we're going and we get up. And all of a sudden, the red boat, and there's Mike Hobson.
The red boat.
That Mike Hobson comes right by us and he goes, "We got this, boys," in this great British accent. And Coleus said some words and he says, "Get this mother boat going." And we're like, okay, we got it. So all of a sudden we're sailing upwind and he yells to me, he goes, "Get that rack out of the water." So I'm like, okay, Bo. I was sailing Beau LeBlanc. Awesome. So I literally take the end of the spin halyard, take it up sort of through a block right at the base of the mast, over the boom, and I climb out really gently and tie a bowl in there, and then we crank up the rack. God. It's like, okay, that's good. We got that. We're going. Now we go around the mark. We have to set. Okay, we pull up the spin halyard. No, it's the other end.
Okay.
So it's okay.
I understand.
It was the tail end. Yeah. So we pull it up and everything, and now I'm okay, great. All of a sudden, Coleus goes, "Okay, rotate the rig." I go, "Oh." Rotate the rig. I said, I just tied the rig. The rig's holding up the rack.
The rack.
So I'm like sitting there with my feet and I'm pulling and I'm pulling and I'm pulling and I'm pulling. I'm like, that's all I got. He goes, okay, and we go, because now these guys are, they're more than a third of a leg ahead of us.
Yeah.
So we are going and we come through the mid gate. They're 2 boat lengths in front of us. We split jibes. We come in to the finish and we didn't know who won. That's how tight it was. We were like,
they were losing
who
their
won?
mind, the red boat.
Who won? Who won? All of a sudden, we saw our owner's rep jumping up and down. We turned around. We're like,
They're
I
on
guess
the
we
radio?
won. We didn't have anything.
Nothing. You're like,
We didn't have anything.
you're like, hand signal.
I guess we won. He is jumping up and down. And Terry was so excited on the boat. We said, well, we must have won. We must have won. It was great. It was a really, really cool experience. So yes, I was the first female to win prize money. Actually, one of the first sailors to win prize money.
Yeah, what an incredible story.
Very,
Boat
very
falling
cool.
apart, held together at the seams with a few ends of the rope.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would love to go back to, it was ABC Wide World of Sports.
Yeah.
And we thought Mr. Cosell was going to be there. He didn't come to sailing.
Ah, that's a
Poor
shame.
guy. He missed it.
Yeah, he really missed out.
Yeah, he did. But it was really, really good and really, really cool. Really, really fun, and just doing all the other things. And then from there, I went on to sail the 50-footers, which was sort of the first series of where we had international teams from all over. And I sailed with the Italians. And very funny, they never told the Italian males that they were going to sail with a girl. And we were in Key West for the very first regatta, and I'm doing mid-bow with Greg Prussia. We're setting up the guys in the sheets, and all of a sudden this guy comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder, he goes, we're leaving now. I said, okay, great, thanks. And I go doing this stuff, and he comes up to me, and a minute later, we're leaving. I said, okay. And we pull out. They're all like,
she's still here.
What's going on?
Oh my.
What's going on?
So who told him?
So that was John. John says, oh, she's sailing with us. And they were like, the Italians. They ended up, taking me on as their team. But they were definitely like, what's going on?
It took the day.
It took a few days.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You proved him wrong. So.
It was wrong. Yep. That was exactly, And the cool thing is when we were doing it, I remember sailing with a four-deck team on a J36, and we never had anything to prove. Mm-hmm. We were just sailors. We just wanted to go sailing. Mm-hmm. And, the good thing was I grew up between 4 brothers, so I was just dragged along, and my sister was right there with us. Mm-hmm. And, my parents didn't see anything different.
No, everyone's going to be able to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have a way of speaking about commentary, speaking about sailing, because maybe another first is doing some commentary.
Another first is early on in the late 80s. I did some commentary with Peter Montgomery, who was just an absolute delight. And he was really the commentator for the America's Cup in the beginning. He's from New Zealand, and he just took me completely under his wing. And it was great sailing, great commentary. I actually got to work with ESPN.
Wow.
I worked with Mr. Kelly there, and I'm commentating for the 89 Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race in San Francisco. And I'm saying, okay, so they're like 4 boat legs from the lake. And he's like, football fields. I'm like, football. I'm thinking in my head, football fields. Oh my God, okay, that's 100 yards. What is that in boats? I'm like, okay, so we are now a football field away from the line. He goes, thank you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this layman thing, having to get in. Because we're so used to talking sailing.
Yeah.
And so it really pays to say, okay, this is about how it is and what you're doing. So that was a lot of fun, but yeah.
Wow, so. Your career is absolutely incredible. I know we were talking earlier before the podcast, and one of the things that drew me to not being afraid of the bow was watching those 88 America's Cups and watching people climb out to the end of the pole and having the hammer and the spike. And that's all I wanted to do when I was a kid. And I grew up just past that point, and they don't really make boats that way anymore.
We need symmetrical kites again.
We've changed that system, and that was something I know you got to do, and I've always wanted to do at least just once.
It is a great feeling because, when I'm offshore, I'm always wearing a harness and go up. But there were times in Key West, there's a great picture that was on American Sailor, the cover, of me climbing up Indulgence. It was a Swan 58, and I'm sorry, it was a Swan 51. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the back of the boat is not paying attention at all. We are coming up fast, and I'm looking around. I'm like, you guys, the mark's right there. We got to get this kite down. All of a sudden, I just yelled back. I said, don't touch the fore guy. And I just go hand over hand, had my spike on my harness. And I look back and I go, are you ready? And they're like, oh, we're coming to work. I'm like, it's coming. And there's a great guy, and he got me a great shot. And I'm like this. And it just piked it. It's really cool. Really
What
cool.
an incredible feeling.
And not only that, but I was wearing bright pink. This is the 80s, okay? Neons were in. I know they're not in anymore, but neons were in. I had bright pink neon shorts, and I had a Carrots bathing suit top and my white sunglasses.
Ugh.
And I'm happy to see Bauman continue that tradition of wearing white sunglasses.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the next part I'd love to transition to is your efforts and struggles and how successful you've been having your own business in the marine industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, where it started, everything in between?
Sure, absolutely. So I was actually thankful to Steve Benjamin because when he went to the 84 games, he moved out to Long Beach and he kind of left the company with Petey, Dickey, myself, and his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to figure out how to run that business. And we were doing a ton. Importing boats, we were doing Proctor spars, we were doing a mail order business, importing in-hop foul weather gear, everything. So I'm like this, I would get to work at 7 and I would leave at 7. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. You know, and Petey Dickey would come in and go, what are you doing? I go, I have to figure out what you're doing all day. So that was my management course, trial by error and by fire. So it was great. And when he came back, I asked him if I could start an international sailing product because we had one in Annapolis, one in Georgia, one on the West Coast. And he just thought that it was too close. So I was like, okay, yeah. And to be fair, I did interview with Patagonia. They had asked me to interview him. So I think he thought I was going to go do that. But instead, what I did was I decided to open up in Newport, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So, and my boyfriend at the time, he was my partner, and then he became my husband. And then we're great friends, but then he became my husband. And but we're still great friends. And what happened is I just started the business from what I knew. And I was told, I wrote a business plan, and I was told by a lot of people that be prepared to fail or you're going to fail. Okay, that's okay. And honestly, back in 1988, I think it was easier on me being a female because if I failed, I just failed.
Right.
Right? They all expected it. Nothing to lose. But if you're a guy, there was a lot more pressure.
Oh, wow.
Don't fail. And so
You're
I
free.
I really was. And you know what? I never had time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get orders out. I had to do this and just constantly working. So there was really no fear in it because I was like, oh, I just have to get this one done and this one done. And we had pitfalls. My accountant, thank goodness Jack Berthman stayed with me because he's like, there were 4 times when you're bleeding so profusely in the business and you're like, Martha, you're losing money. What are you doing? I said, it's okay. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
You know, and my brothers toughened me up a little bit. And the joke in the family was that, you know, if you dared Martha or you said she couldn't do something, I'd put my hands on my hips, dig my heels in and say, I'm going to prove you wrong.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah. And I think that that's what happened is just anything that came along, I looked at it as a challenge. Not that it was going to bring us down. And how do we take this challenge and how do we learn from it? And then how do we make it better? Or how do we get through it? It's just like being on a sailboat race, right? Your rig comes down. Okay, what do we have to do? Cut the rig away first. Now how are we going to bring it up? And I think that staying calm, cool, and collected and not panicking and not, oh my gosh, this is so bad, of saying, okay, some stuff's happened. What are we doing here? And then you would get forward.
Yeah.
You know, but I do have some people that really took care of me early on. And I just had a 40th anniversary party where I brought back.
Wow. 40 years.
40 years. And I brought back my original employees and it was awesome. It was so cool. And in the old days, we used to print a catalog.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of the catalog models who came down who I could never pay, but I gave them some product. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have to do a huge shout out to Sharon Green. Once again, another female business owner in the industry who she started 3 years before me. And she was amazing. And she literally guided me through in the very, very beginning. So she was my mentor for that. And we just worked together and we were 2 short females in the industry and just going through it. But, you know, in all honesty, we didn't even think of ourselves as being females. Yeah. We just thought of ourselves as being sailors. You know, and Sharon's an amazing sailor in her own right. So from there we went on. But I remember a female bank loan officer who I worked with at Citizens. She calls me up and she goes, Martha, she goes, get your butt down here right now. I said, uh-oh, Kelly, am I in trouble? She goes, just get down here. And when I walked in, I didn't realize it. It was, you know, we didn't have money. We just had to sit there and figure out how to pay for everything. Yeah. So of course I had to pay my employees. But I didn't always pay the payroll taxes.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Always, if you start your business, always pay your payroll taxes, okay? because she had gotten what's called the pink slip, and it was from the federal government, and gave 48 hours to seize my bank account if I didn't pay it.
God.
And they had the amount I had to pay. And she literally went to the head of the bank loan officer and said, I totally believe in this woman. She's going to make it. And let's write up a loan. When I came in, they had a loan written up. I signed it and I was ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Really, really cool.
Wow.
And back then, having a female loan officer was very unusual as well.
And she knew that she could support you, and it wasn't going to be hard. It was just going to be an ask, and that's incredible.
And she did it. So it was really, really cool. And then the other great story is Woolridge, who we used to carry a great sort of a clothing business, but the layers and everything else.
Yeah.
I did a great preseason. We were just moving down to Thames Street because I started my business wrong. I started my business a retail store on a second floor. That's all we could afford.
Oh, no.
We had the second floor store, and the third floor is where we lived. Okay. And we even, to our employees, came and lived with us for free. We fed them. We did everything. They worked for us. We'd give them money when we could. And that's how it worked out. But we
is this
finally.
the yellow house that I know, or is this?
No, this is right across from where the Tennis Hall of Fame is.
Ah, okay.
Along William Street. And that was back in, for anybody who knows Rhode Island and remembers Newport, where Almax was. It's now A Market, but it was Almax back then. And there was a great little plaza, and Cappuccino's was a great patisserie there. And we were on the second floor.
Wow.
In 1985. So in 1986, 15 months later, we were able to move on to Thames Street. So I'm figuring we're going to be on Thames Street. We're going to be able to do this. Here's this order. We're going to make it big. No. The sales were not good.
Oh, no.
And it came up, and George calls me. And I called George. I said, George, I know my bills are due, but I'm struggling a little bit. He goes, okay. He goes, what are you doing? He says, well, I still have all this inventory. I haven't been able to sell it and everything. He goes, okay, I'm going to call you back tomorrow. So he calls me back and he goes, all right, this is one time and one time only.
Wow.
He goes, give me a list of your inventory. I will take it back, and that'll go against your bill. And then you pay for what you have left over.
Yeah.
That saved my business.
Wow.
I honestly could have gone under at that point. And so it's people like that who believed in us and believed that we could make this happen and did those kind acts, which George was like, it's okay, I can sell this product.
Yeah.
It'll go in. But there's, it's that whole give.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, if you're thinking about giving, when something comes to you, you're like, wow, that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because my grandfather was president of Kimberly-Clark Corporation. And he was actually, I remember in high school, I took public speaking, and I read a snippet of one of his speeches that he gave in Geneva. And he was President Eisenhower's delegate to the International Labor Organization, which is really interesting because his whole take on labor was that it's the job of the company to take care of the employees. Mm-hmm. It's the job of the employees to take care of the company. Mm-hmm. So you're always thinking about what can you do for the other person? Mm-hmm. And then you work symbiotically, and it really works. So that's sort of my mantra through life.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Is to give.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind of where I am and where I've done. But I haven't gotten here by myself. Mm-hmm. Tons and tons of people who have helped me along. And that's what was so special about bringing them together this past week. But, there'll be people who come up to me and say, oh, I worked for you. I'm like, oh, you did? I'm really sorry. Don't worry, I worked at the store or something like that.
Yeah.
But we've grown huge. We have 2 retail stores in Newport. One is called Patagonia Newport, and the other one's called Team One Newport. And from there, I've been really honored that I work with the designers of the major foul gear companies only because I've made every mistake in the world. And when you're an expert, that's usually the reason why. Yeah. Because you've learned. When you learn by the seat of your pants, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to go. So it's been wonderful. So I just attribute it all to the teamwork that we've done and the way that people have supported me.
Mm. And I know your passion is still getting on the water. Were you able to keep sailing? You had so much incredible sailing, all those first you mentioned in the beginning. Did you have to stop sailing to run this business?
I did and I didn't. I did definitely through COVID, and that was when. But before that, I was still sailing and going on. I had 2 children, and I would drag them on with me, and here we go. And so, I've been able to do so many cool things that'll never be done again. I did an Olympic campaign. I actually was changing countries and getting my citizenship in New Zealand and sailed with
Yes.
them. We qualified to Kiel and everything was good. But then I had to come home and do some stuff there. So unfortunately, I didn't go to the 2004 games. It was really hurtful. But you know what? I had to deal. I had a family. I had a business. And so when we say you can do everything, you can, but you've got to realize that you're going to lose out on some things. And so we all make our choices. And I made my choice to be happy and just keep going. And it's a good thing I have a lot of energy because I ran from my brothers all the time. I had the loudest whistle because when they thought they wanted to sort of knock me up and make sure, I'd whistle and my mother would go, Jeffrey, Steven, Christopher. And they'd be like, we're not anywhere
that's
close
great.
to her. You know,
You're
but,
like,
yeah.
we're not even in
Yeah.
the same room.
We're not in
and
the
you're
same
just
room. Like,
whistling just
liar.
because.
Yeah, exactly. No, they were. And I'm running. They
Oh my
were,
God.
you know, we're really close as a family and it's wonderful. But, you know, that was just kids growing up in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, a little bit of, okay. A little bit of smack. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Martha. It's been wonderful having you. Do you have any final thoughts, any final words for our listeners?
I think just take life as it is and don't waste energy on being worried about anything. Take a challenge, look at the challenge, grasp it, go forward. But worrying just is wasted energy, and we need a lot of positive energy to go forward.
Incredible. Thank you for joining us. Like, follow, and subscribe American Sailor, U.S. Sailing's official podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us, americansailor@ussailing.org.